Welcome to the Darrell McClain Show. I'm your host, Darrell McClain, and let's get into our episode.
Intelligentsia, the interim of sarcasm, the nutty professor to your whack-ass marmalade. It's T-Bone from T-Bone and Chick Brew in the morning. Now available in podcast format. Simply search for the T-Bone and Chick Brew podcast, available wherever fine podcasts are sold.
Welcome to the Darrell McClain Show. I'm your host, Darrell McClain, independent media that won't reinforce tribalism. We have one planet, nobody is leaving, so that there's reason together. It has been a long time since we talked. There's been some competitions going on with me, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. There's been some team updates going on with the team. Gustavo Machado Norfolk changed its name, left the affiliation to become Cracking Grappling Association. The Salsas are still competing. Sam's is still training. Mark is still teaching, etc. And there has been some personal news on my front. Business license has been extended by the Commonwealth of Virginia, and I'm in the process myself of looking for a space because I'll be opening my own jiu-jitsu studio. When it comes to the world, I guess we know exactly what's happened, which is the same old. It does get a bit ridiculous, I will say. It does get a bit difficult for me coming on here and talking to you about things like Cheeto Jesus, Orange Man Bad, or the Republican and Democratic rat race, because it's the same old stuff. Nothing really changes. You're going to hear something about socialists, going to hear something about communists, going to hear something about cultural Marxists, going to hear something about trans people, going to hear something about tax cuts and moochers and tariffs and the ballroom, etc. And when I left and came back, nothing had changed. Still talking about the same old foolishness, and nothing has changed whatsoever. And part of it is because America, I used to say we kind of repeat the same cycles. That is true, but it's just same talking points. There was a congressman that actually went on the Cutlow show, and Cutlow had to tell him the same thing. Check this out. And I think he was right, even though.
Right now, you, the leadership in both houses, are bungling everything, sir. I say that with all due respect, and we are personal friends. It's not but you're bungling everything. Nothing is getting done. Your messaging is non-existent. You've lost your swag, your swagger, your riz, or whatever the young people say. No one knows what the heck you're doing, sir. They have no idea.
Yeah, you're welcome. And this is part of the challenge we've got with all of our media friends out there that continue to be able to beat up on Republicans and say Republicans are all the problem. But apparently the socialist Democrats in New York City, they seem to be perfect because most conservative media right now is beating up on Republicans and just ignoring the socialists who are running rampant all over the country. So I look back on what happened with the One Big Beautiful Bill. Look at the housing bill we just passed. There's a lot of things that are going on that are good, and I understand.
Nobody has attacked Mondami more than I have, for heaven's sake. I
wasn't saying that just about you. I was saying
that isn't the point.
This is the challenge that we're up against.
What is it that your policy is? Senator Langford, my friend, what is your policy? Where are the tax cuts? Where are the spending cuts? Where's the waste, fraud, and corruption reduction? Where is all of that? Where is the reconciliation bill? Where's the straight talk and messaging for the midterm? Where's the growth messaging? Where's the we're going to make it better for taxpayers and working folks messaging? Come on, Senator.
See, now, remind you, that was Republican Larry Kudlow. But anyway, the point is, there is no messaging because there is no message, because the whole game is this. The system is rigged. Everybody somewhat knows it. The only question is, what are you going to do about it? The late George Carlin famously had that bit where he said it's a big club and you ain't in it. And I think what happens in a lot of the halls of power is people work hard to try to get in the club and get everything that they can, to steal everything that they can steal, to grab everything that's not nailed down, to break everything that they can in the hopes that the regulatory frameworks that hold extreme financial interests at bay are torn apart, and the little person and the middle person is not even a thought. Yeah, even when you hear how elections are run in the United States of America, they will sometimes talk about the middle class. They don't even have the nerve, they don't have the audacity. They would dare not mention the poor, the POOR, because they have to pretend like there's no such thing as poverty in America. When we go through the numbers, you see we have rampant childhood poverty, etc. We have food deserts. We have data centers that are destroying whole cities, losing power, water systems that have been hacked. Of course, they said, "Oh, this came from Iran," but how they would say that about anybody that they wanted to blow to smithereens because they got some freedom over there in the that looks just like oil. But anyway, and the midterms is coming. The midterms are coming, I should say, proper English. And right now, the polls show the Democrats are +8 on the generic ballot. And we'll see whether that materializes itself or not, whether it changes anything or not. Who knows? Democrats seem to be very good at the same thing Republicans are good at, which is looking at the other side and saying how awful they are. And you'll always find how awful they are because they are awful, and but not doing anything when they actually get into power. The president of the United States actually was asked about this. I didn't want to play the clip because I don't have to look for it. And he said, well, the people are upset, but they're upset at Republicans, but not at me. As a matter of fact, I'll play the clip for you.
If I don't run, will those people go out and vote? And that's the one thing I can't tell. I'm going to ask them to, but I'm just watching guys like you, and you're very talented people. The question is, will they vote? Because a lot of them are very angry at Republicans, to be honest with you. Why is there? I don't know. I mean, they're angry at Republicans, but they're not angry at me. Why? They're not angry at me, but they are angry at Republicans. Will go out.
So nice. You got to play it twice. This is just, I was astounded when I heard it. And of course I laughed because, as I said before, we are in the dumbest timeline in human history, at least to my memory. And it seems to get dumber by the day, progressively getting worse.
And vote. And that's the one thing I can't tell. I'm going to ask them to, but I'm just watching guys like you, and you're very talented people. The question is, will they vote? Because a lot of them are very angry at Republicans, to be honest with you. Why is there? I don't know. I mean, they're angry at Republicans, but they're not angry at me. Why? They're not angry at me, but they are angry at Republicans.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Has anybody ever told you you were over-opinionated? How about this one? You can talk about everything you like, but don't talk about religion. Don't talk about faith. Don't talk about politics. My name is Darrell McClain, host of Darrell McClain Show, and I want to introduce you to a show called Over-Opinionated with my friend from Southwest Virginia, Josh Scott. Josh has always been told he has been over-opinionated. He always tried to hold back these opinions, but he tried to back them up when he had to say something with facts and logic. Since he's grown up in many ways, he had to change a lot of his views and his opinions, as a lot of people should. He's not a millionaire from Fox News or CNN. He's just a hardworking, blue-collar type of guy. Give Josh Scott a shot at Overopinionated with Josh Scott. You can find him on patreon.com/overopinionated at 679. You can also check him out on Twitter at NRV_guy79. Overopinionated with Josh Scott, where he is this soft-spoken guy telling you the truth. We talk about a lot of serious topics on this show. One very serious topic is women's health. One company that stood out to me was vslay.com because the owner is very transparent about her own struggles in the women's health department and has great customer service, great deals, and frequent sales. You can check her out, her great customer service, products about women's health, and frequent sales at www.vslay.com. That is www.vslay.com.
Right now, Republicans are trailing Democrats on the generic ballot by 8 points. Democrats also have a 20-point advantage among those who say that they're extremely motivated to vote. And 63% of Republican voters say that their own party is not focusing enough on cost of living issues, something that remains top of mind for most Americans. And in addition to all of that, there are new signs of cracks in the economy, and it's likely to add to Republicans' anxiety. A new report shows that the U.S. actually lost jobs in July to the tune of 23,000. Job gains in the previous months were also revised down. The unemployment rate ticked down slightly, largely because of people leaving the workforce. But things are just rosy in Trump's eyes.
When I see polls on the economy, I should have 150%, not 100%.
Oh, yeah.
Because we have the greatest. This is the golden age of America. What's being built now in this country has never, ever been built. And we are literally in the golden age of America.
So, could you just imagine, just imagine for me, being in a relationship, let's just say one of the greatest types of relationships, being in a marriage, and things are going wrong, and you were to say, well, look, people are upset about the marriage, but they're not upset about me. I don't have anything to do with it. It would be, people are upset about what's happening in the family, but they're not upset about what I'm doing. No, that's not how parties work. You're the head of the party. You threw the party. We came to the party because you promised us certain things at the party. No new wars, whatever. And we got to the party, and you said there were not gonna be any wars. And we said, hey, how about this? No pedophiles. And you said, yeah, there won't be any wars, and the other parties got a lot of pedophiles, and we're gonna not have any wars, and we'll point out the pedophiles, and everybody will be rich. It'll be so big, and you'll win so much you'll get tired of winning. And I haven't won a damn thing. Nobody else I know seems to have won a damn thing. It seems like it's getting progressively worse. Those pedophiles still seem to be sitting right over there, and it seems like you're playing this don't look at over here. These are not the drones you looking for game. And we invade Venezuela, kidnap the president and his spouse for their oil, of course. And because of Marco Rubio's little weird obsession with Latin American countries, that's for some reason like a Cuban thing that I know nothing about why that's his obsession, but that's from the old neocon. They have this weird view that if they are to empower the hardline right-wingers in Venezuela, that will somehow put pressure on Cuba, and it will get the fall of the Castro regime. And of course, Marco Rubio, as well as Ted Cruz, are obsessed with Cuba because Cuba did the little thing that you're not supposed to do. They threw out a dictator, Batista, who was propped up by the United States of America. And if you go look at especially Ted Cruz's family, his father was loyalist to Batista, even though he was arrested in Cuba. And Ted Cruz will leave out a very specific detail that his father was not arrested under the Castro administration. He was arrested under the Batista administration, but Rubio's family had ties to the Batista regime, and they came to American citizenship, obviously, because you land here from Cuba, you get American citizenship. Big time politician in Florida. He has the look. He looks normal. He speaks normal. And by normal, I mean warmongering, neoconservative, blow him up, normal. And that's what they want. They want to have him be the standard bearer because he's the old model. And they put Trump out there, and Trump is, as you see, kind of on the downs slope. He doesn't care. He's a lame duck president in a few weeks. The midterms will come if the Democratic Party wins the Congress or the Senate. We kind of know what's going to happen. Investigation after investigation. They may even attempt impeachment 2.0, and Trump is already going to have trouble as a lame duck president, and that will just be worse with all the investigations. And when I say this becomes difficult, because at what ends? How does that put money in my pocket? How does that help with the tariffs? How does that help with the word that we hear now, affordability? Does it? It does. If you investigate Trump again, are the gas prices going to go down? If you investigate again, is the war in Iran going to end? If you investigate again, is Venezuela going to do it? If you investigate again, are the rolling blackouts in Cuba going to stop that are imposed on them by the United States of America? Of course not. Of course not. This stuff is a bunch of malarkey, and that's what makes it so difficult for people like me who work really hard to try to give you something serious to look at. It makes it very difficult for me to even cut on the microphone and talk to you, because this is not serious, people. This is a serious government being run by unserious people who have a lot of power and seem to have no ability to know what to do with it, and no real way do they think that they are stewards of a great republic. And that is a shame. So it is difficult at times. And I think I told somebody, actually I think it was Gene, and I said, this is the part of the plan. Sometimes I think it gets so ridiculous. It gets so ridiculous that you stop even paying attention to it, because it's not serious, and it causes you to start to lose a bit of the hope. It starts you can write as many articles as you want, and the rainforest is still gonna be being decimated. The wars for oil will still be going on. The forever wars will still be going on. We'll still have 900 or so bases at somebody else's land that we do not need to be in. The economy will still be looking good for Wall Street, which is great for them, and looking awful for Main Street, which is awful for them. The rich and the rest of us will still be the reality. The poverty manifesto will still be rampant in America. The child hunger index will still be through the roof. Kentucky will still be a crap. Alabama will still be awful. Mississippi will still be awful. The 50 states will still be hobbling along. And what do we have? A bunch of rich people went to Washington, bent the knee to Donald Trump. They got richer, and everybody else stumbled along doing the day-to-day tasks, because it actually turned out that what Ronald Reagan prophesied, what he kind of put into place in the 80s, if you look at his dismantling of the government, turned out to be true. Now, the scariest words in the English language are, hello, I am from the government, and I am here to help. The most scariest words in the English language. Hello, I'm from the government, and I'm here to help. And so my solution to all this is fairly simple. If you want to get somewhere in life at this point, you better start a damn band. You better start a band. You better open some entertainment complex. You better learn some jokes, and you better start entertaining these rich people, I suppose, because that is the only way. You better attach yourself to somebody's wagon, because this is the death rattles. The death rattles, I say, of a declining economic power. This is what they used to call late stage capitalism. And I'm going to get into that over the upcoming weeks, the last death throes of a could have been great republic. No republic normally lasts over 250 years. We've hit that point, and I think Trump is the absolutely the president that we got to see steer us down a path that I don't think we will return from. We saw the Elon get in there with the Doge cuts. Reports are coming out that this many people died because of it. Saw one report that over 1 million people have been killed because of Doge cuts, and because of the defunding of USAID, and not even a peep. 70,000 people, women and children mostly, dead in Pakistan because the bloodthirsty IDF and the bloodthirsty Antichrist warmonger Bibi Netanyahu. Not a peep, because it's all right, because you don't want to be seen as anti-Semitic, so you don't say anything. You can be a grifter on the left, a grifter on the right. You can say some platitudes about yada yada yada, Pakistan and Palestine, but nobody gives a damn. Nothing is gonna happen, and even if you were to get on the television and try to extend any amount of decency and dignity to the Palestinian cause, you will be ran right out of the room. I saw Cori Bush lost again against a AIPAC-backed Democrat, and it is what it is. You can be progressive except for Palestine. I will be rereading my Sociology Month book by the great Dr. Mark Lamont Hill that he wrote a few years back called Except for Palestine. And it's basically how you can be liberal and this and that, but if it comes to Palestine, those are the groups of people, that is a group of people you are allowed to be a bigot about, because you hide your bigotry beyond your crocodile tears for Israel. And this is actually something that I was watching the other day when the brain-dead Senator John Fetterman got himself in a tongue twister when he went on with the better gentleman, the better John of the two, Jon Stewart. And Jon Stewart told him how weird it was to have this Israel obsession, because that's not his country. And he tried to do that thing they do where they inflate Jews with Israel. And Jon Stewart, who is a Jew, told him, no, buddy, that's not the same thing.
Absolutely. Israel for me. Like, I can't ever. But Israel is the red line. Absolutely. Israel for me. Like, I can't ever turn my back to Israel after where it's at. So, and I mean no disrespect on this, but that is not our country. You're saying that these candidates may have great ideas for our economy. They may want to do the exact same thing you want to do in terms of getting money out of politics. They may want to increase the social safety net. They may want to change the balance of power from capital back to labor. But if they don't agree with you on Israel, you don't want them in your party. That seems like a weird line to draw. Well, so then, I don't think that's weird. I think what history demonstrates is that when people or a government or people turn their back to the Jewish community, things end really badly, and it's the Jewish community and Israel are not the same thing, brother man. They're not.
Back in the day, we would have been yelling at Fetterman saying, "Oh, he was anti-Semitic," because of him inflating a country with the people. Now, of course, we know Israel, the country of Israel, is supposed to be the land for the Jewish people, That is true, but it is a land for Israelis. There are plenty of Jewish people in the Jewish diaspora who are not from Israel. And when you get to the nitty gritty and talk to them, there are Jewish people who do not believe in the concept of a Jewish state. They I've heard some of the people on the hardliner say that it is a bastardization of Judaism, and so you know how it gets when you get into culture and the conflicts between people in a certain subgroup. And so everybody could say different things, but to address the point where he says, oh, if you turn their back on the Jewish people, things have gone bad. Well, yeah, if you turn your back on any group, things will go bad. But that does not mean that you give one group carte blanche to kill another group. That's the point. But Fetterman's got to go. Fetterman's got to go.
Israeli settlers have been waging a campaign of terror on the West Bank now for a considerable period of time, which most of the international community views as criminal activity. What is your view of what is happening on the West Bank?
The expulsion of the population in the West Bank and in Gaza is deeply rooted in Zionist ideology. If you look at the current UN report on the deliberate killing of Palestinian children, they describe many scenes of the settlers. A group of settlers urinating on a child. A group of settlers kidnapping a 4 and 5-year-old child, brother and sister, and tying them to a tree. A bunch of Israeli soldiers, not settlers, soldiers, attacking a 16-year-old who is hearing impaired and kicking him on the ground. The soldiers, remember, Israel is a citizen army. The soldiers are representative of Israeli society, just like Daniela Weiss at one end of the spectrum and Benny Morris at the other end is representative of Israeli society. It is, unfortunately, it has become a nation of child killers.
And that's just, that was the Jewish professor, intellectual, parents were Holocaust survivors, Norman Finkelstein at his best, if I should say. But like I said, but for Palestine, except for Palestine here. So what has changed since the last time we talked? A bit of here over the margins, a little bit of tickering here, arguing over the parsley, never getting to the steak and the meat and the potatoes. But we will be here and we will be firing on all cylinders going forward because it's a big news time coming up with the midterms looming. Primaries have been basically set, and we cannot bow out. We cannot tap out. We have to keep reporting. We have to keep analyzing. We have to keep holding these nutbags accountable for what they are doing. And I will say this, you may not be able to change the world, but you should at least know who's guilty of making it the way that it is. And I will say this, in the words of the late Jessica Mitford said something like this: I cannot change the world, but I will shame the guilty. And that is my role here. I cannot change the world. I will report what is going on, and I will shame the guilty. And in the meantime, we'll go to the late James Baldwin, who said it like this: I cannot change the world, I cannot fix society, but I can mess up your mind. So I won't try to mess up your mind, but I will try to tell you what is happening. One of the things that is happening, of course, is the president lost when it came to the birthright citizenship fight, but he is not giving up. Donald Trump is going after birthright citizenship, of course, because Republicans for a very long time, an actual American who, whether that was by your cultural ideas, And now they're trying to decide which laws make you a real American. And they've always had a problem with what they call anchor babies. Somebody comes to the United States of America from another country. They're on the United States soil. They have the baby here. It has always been recognized, at least as long as I have been alive, so 40 plus years, that the baby that born in America is an American citizen. The parents' citizenship, not so much. And Republicans have historically had a problem with that and Trump because he, let's say, is not interested in gaining more voters the old way by going out appealing to them, asking them to vote, giving them something to vote for. It's more of a now let's just kick people out of the country. Let's just say, no. If you're born in America, you're not a citizen. We will come up with other ways to determine citizenship. Fun stuff, right?
Trump attacks birthright citizenship again. The FCC hands local TV over to billionaires. The new CDC chief wants your abortion data. Russia eyes NATO, and Michigan Republicans go full racist. Good morning. This is the Commonwealth Report, news for the public, not the powerful. You can follow us at commonwealthreport.news. Can Trump erase the 14th Amendment with a pen? President Trump signed 2 executive orders yesterday, taking another swing at birthright citizenship. The Supreme Court already told him no. In June, the justices ruled 6-3 that his first order was unlawful and out of step with the 14th Amendment. So now he's trying a side door. One order goes after what the White House calls birth tourism. The other expands the list of people whose American-born babies don't qualify, including children of foreign lobbyists. Stephen Miller wrote the playbook. Trump called the ruling a very, very unfortunate decision. Then he said the 14th Amendment was only meant for the babies of slaves. Well, that's not what it says. It says all persons born are naturalized here. When a president decides an amendment means whatever he wants, the Constitution stops being law and becomes a suggestion. Who gets to own your local news station now? The Federal Communications Commission voted 2-1 yesterday to kill the national television ownership cap. For 22 years, no single company could own stations reaching more than 39% of American households. Congress wrote that limit into law. Brendan Carr erased it anyway, with Commissioner Ana Gomez casting the only no vote. She said the change just, quote, changes who is doing the squeezing. Free Press is suing, calling it an unlawful power grab because only Congress can rewrite what Congress wrote. Nexstar is trying to swallow Tegna in a $6.2 billion deal that 8 state attorneys general are fighting. Local news is the last place most Americans still trust. Hand it to billionaires friendly to the president, and you don't have journalism anymore. America will have a public address system for Trump.
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes. Be slow when network is busy. See terms.
Will the CDC become abortion surveillance? The Senate confirmed Dr. Erica Schwartz to run the Centers for Disease Control on Wednesday, 51 to 44. Schwartz is a former deputy surgeon general. At her confirmation hearing, Senator Josh Hawley asked her to commit to collecting better abortion data. She answered that abortion surveillance, quote, is absolutely a critical component, end quote, of what the CDC does. Then she went further, saying she wants to make sure states aren't hiding abortions inside emergency services. The reporting program is voluntary. California, Maryland, and New Jersey don't participate. 44 states already require some form of reporting. A more complete national abortion database was a stated goal of Project 2025. In states with bans, that data doesn't stay data. It becomes evidence. Will the agency built to stop outbreaks be repurposed for stalking women? Russia prepares to test NATO's resolve. Say what? American intelligence now believes Vladimir Putin may launch a limited attack on a NATO member sometime between this fall and 2029. That's from new assessments in the Wall Street Journal. Until this year, Washington figured Russia wouldn't dare while it's bogged down in Ukraine. Well, that assumption is gone. The scenarios run from cyber attacks to unmarked armed men seizing territory, like they did with Crimea, to a small ground incursion on the eastern flank. A ground invasion is least likely because it would trigger Article 5. Cyber and hybrid attacks are likelier because NATO's response there is murky. A NATO spokesman said the alliance is, quote, ready to deter and defend as necessary. Meanwhile, American stockpiles of long-range missiles and Stinger air defenses are drawn down. The point isn't taking land, it's finding out whether the alliance still means what it says. Can Republicans win Michigan by racism and hate? Michigan's Senate race is set. Democrat Abdul El-Sayed against Republican Mike Rogers for the seat Gary Peters is leaving. Rogers of the National Republican Senatorial Committee came out with ads tying El-Sayed, who is Muslim, to foreign terrorists. Dark music, darkened photos, a baseless conspiracy theory about the Muslim Brotherhood, and a closing line calling him too dangerous for Michigan. Rogers put out a statement claiming El-Sayed believes America deserved the September 11th attacks, which is a lie. It works on some voters. Michigan Republicans just defeated a Trump-endorsed House candidate simply because his name sounded Arabic. El-Sayed's answer was simple. That's the only play they got, he said. His name isn't why groceries cost too much. Polls still show Michiganders souring on Trump. Because the Republicans don't have policy, they are running out of fear of your neighbor. And that's the way it is today, Friday, August 7th, 2026. I'm Tom Hartman.
Anyway, we went to the Tom Hartman for the Hartman from the Hartman report. That one is just kind of the Commonwealth take or something of that nature. Excuse me. Anyway, I like Tom Hartman. I like his content. He has a shorter shows, it's 5 minutes, 9 minutes, 11 minutes, and a big show that he does live daily, Monday through Friday, called the Hartman Report. And that one is about 59 minutes, so an hour. And I do like it because Tom actually does something that people used to do. And he allows you to call in and you can debate him on certain issues. Thomas Hartman is a person you just heard. And I think it goes back, we'll talk about that last segment a bit. What I said when it comes to a lot of the things that should be talked about, but what they will talk about. This guy is running to be the governor or senator or a mayor or a congressman, alderman, etc. And imagine what happens is, you know you're a Muslim, everybody else knows it, and it's the year 2026, and they bring up 9/11 like the person running for office had anything to do with 9/11. The gentleman running in Michigan had something to do with a terror attack on the country that, just for context, happened when I was in the 10th I want to say I was in the 10th grade when it happened. I have graduated high school some 23 years ago now. So that is basically, I like what Hartman said there. Will it work? The hatred of the neighbor, etc. And I will say this: I don't know, because I'm not a person of faith when it comes to the country in that way. I'm not I've been around long enough to know hate is a nice reason that a lot of Americans get out of bed. They hate their neighbors. They don't just dislike them. They hate them. They hate them so much they don't want them to be in the country. And that's a long conversation to have. They'll pretend like, oh, we love our family and we love our children. No. Nobody's worried about your family and nobody's worried about your children. You just don't like your neighbors, and you you have rationalized your not liking your neighbors into all sorts of reasons why you shouldn't like them. They believe in this and that. They don't believe in this. And it's, if you're on the left, it's one thing. If you're on the right, it's another thing. If you're on the left, you don't like them because they're racist, sexist, bigoted, homophobes. Even though you probably never talk to those people that don't know anything about them. And on the right, we talked about the communist, socialist, cultural Marxists coming and stealing your children. And of course, in the way American politics has gotten so diluted into crazy town, now we throw out a nice term for everybody we disagree with. They are now all pedophiles. And meanwhile, nothing gets done. Nothing gets done. We're going to do a blast on intellectual pass, and then we will see you on the next episode. Don't want the episode to run very long, but anyway, thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next one.
One of my concerns in coming here tonight was precisely that my voice as a black female voice would be overshadowed by homosocial bondage. Among the men here, and one of the things that Eugene evoked was women and children. And it seems to me that in part of why I wish to see a greater voice from radical black women intellectuals is that I think many of us experience our intellectuality, our stardom, our what have you very differently. And that as I listen, I mean, I feel more and more divorced from this discussion precisely because my sense of being an intellectual first comes out of being nurtured by black women in black institutions, the church, the school. We have something to learn from many voiceless black women. Love is a combination of care, knowledge, responsibility, commitment, and trust. Because one of the things that's happened in our culture is we equate love primarily with care. And that's why we can say parents who brutally beat their kids but who still love them. Because I look at my own childhood and I say in the book again and again, my parents cared for me deeply. But they also wounded me in ways that were violating, wounded my spirit. And I think that I would be a different person today had they not given me care, because I've met lots of adults who didn't get care, but I did not feel loved. The first book, All About Love, one of the ideas that was really hard for people to accept was that if somebody is abusing you, they're not loving you. I mean, you would think that would be a basic understanding most of us would have, but in fact, so many of us have been wounded in some way in our childhoods that we really need to cling to the idea that if someone hurts you, they can also be loving you. And I tried to make a big distinction in that book between care and love, that like saying that my parents cared for me deeply, and care is important. A lot of children don't receive any care, but it's only one ingredient of love. It's not love. First, I read patriarchal men whose work I love, and how is it that they can live without reading our work, without wanting to hear our voices, even if it's just to be nosy, to wonder what those people are thinking. I mean, I live in the Bible Belt, and I read lots of evangelical literature, and someone said to me, well, why do you bother? And I said, well, I like to know what millions of people are thinking. You know, part of the construction of dominator privilege is you don't have to think about what are those other people thinking, feeling, hoping, dreaming. Often white people will meet a black person who completely challenges every racial stereotype that they've ever had. Rather than giving up the stereotype, they create a special category for that person and say, well, you're not like other black people, or instead of saying, my ideas of black people were too narrow or too, and I think that's the tragedy of any kind of prejudicial thinking, that when we confront the circumstance that tells us it's not so, we frequently don't enlarge our sense of things. We actually come up with new ways to protect and defend that way of thinking.
In 2015, Bell Hooks opened the Bell Hooks Institute in Berea, Kentucky, and she invited me to be the first guest at the Bell Hooks Institute. And there were many people in her life who said that they could not attend that opening of her institute because I would be there, and that Laverne Cox is an abomination. Oh, yes. And Bell Hooks had me at the opening of her institute anyway. And that moment was a reminder for her and for all of us that when we stand for justice, sometimes we have to let go of people, places, and things in our lives that do not serve us standing. that do not serve us standing in solidarity with each other across difference.
I wrote on a little postcard thing, love is a combination of 6 ingredients: care, commitment, knowledge, responsibility, respect, and trust. And so if you don't know what you're doing, just pull out that little card and ask yourself, in what way does my action that I'm taking reflect these traits, these characteristics, these values, if you will? And so that I think, again, the question of love is the question of what to do.
The first thing I would suggest, practically, if you get bell hooks, not all about love, because the girls have worn that book out. They have worn that book out. And all of you are reading bell hooks all about love, and you're still moving like idiots still. I don't know if you just licked the cover, or just opened it and then flipped over to the back page. I don't know what you did, but I don't know if the message is really resonating. I think that some of you need to read that book again, maybe 7 more times.
I think people are hungry for dissent. I think people are hungry for provocative voices that go to the heart of the matter. Because people want to have answers to the things that they are in crisis about. People are really hungry for truth. And that hunger, I think, is something that unites us across class, race, sexual preference and practice, religion. And I see the hope that I feel within my own self and with other people is that hunger for truth and for ways to live our lives more fully in a manner that's more fulfilling. I think,
I used to see.
Anyway, so that voice was the voice of the late, and I would argue great, Dr. Bell Hooks. There's a lot of, I don't use the words like hero or things like that quite often, but Bell Hooks was definitely one of my heroes. Gone way too young, in my opinion. Died in 2021, December 15th, actually. And I always think sometimes when it gets to the love bit of my life, what would Bell Hooks say? How would she dismantle this argument? How would she rip through the noise and do it in a very loving way that she would often do, that she often did. And if you're gonna read some work about dominator culture, if you're gonna read some feminist theory and you want to have a black person from the South's perspective, female, if you want to read about a lot of things about teaching to transgress, etc., Bell Hooks would be the person to go to. If you're not a reader, because she was in academia for so long, there is a plethora of things you can go to on YouTube and watch her in her brilliance for free. At any rate, I'm melancholy enough on a daily basis without reflecting on the life and legacy of the late Dr. Bell Hooks, Gloria Jean Watkins, her real name. But at any rate, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Darrell McClain Show. Any questions you got, don't be shy. I am on social media. I do not engage as much as I used to with the audience, but I do read the questions and I do answer them. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you on the next episode.
I wake up with a promise on my tongue, saying, Lord, today I'm gonna be the one. But the pressure creeps in slow again, and I fall back where I swore I'd end. Smoke choking my lungs, but I feel your light. Even when I choose the other side, I hear your voice in the quiet rain, saying, child, I still know your name. I try to run, I try to hide, but mercy keeps me on your mind. And you still stay when I drift away, when I break the vows I said I'd make. Hands still open, love don't change, even when I'm lost in my mistakes. You don't let go, you don't walk away, no matter how many times I stray. I feel your grace in the mist I made, and somehow you still stay. I've tasted chains I built myself, look for peace in something else, but it fades like morning smoke, and I'm left with a heart that knows that every time I hit my knees, you don't turn away from me. You meet me in the lowest place with the love I can't erase. I fall again, you pull me in like I've never been a sin. You still stay when I drift away, when I break the vows I said I'd make. And still open, love don't change, even when I'm lost in my mistakes. You don't let go, you don't walk away, no matter how many times I stray. I feel your grace in the mess I made, and somehow you still stay. I don't deserve it, but you give it. Every breath I know I'm living on borrowed mercy, steady and true. And I don't quit, 'cause you don't too. And you still stay through the fire and rain, through every high and every shame. You call me back by my real name. Love louder than my darkest days. Oh, you don't let go, you don't walk away. You keep me even when I break. I feel your grace in the mess I made. Yes, somehow you still stay, still stay. Even when I fall, still stay, still love, still grace.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. Of course, if you want to support the show, you can do so by going to www.patreon.com and getting a membership for as little as $3 a month. Again, that's www.patreon.com/The Darrell McClain Show. The Darrell McClain Show is fully listener-supported, independent media that won't lead you to tribalism. Get a membership and support independent media at www.patreon.com/The Darrell McClain Show.